Hello and welcome to MBH's quarterly live event. This is your event with the business owners and business leaders within the MBH group, where it's an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the business owners and a little bit more about some of the activities that have been going on across the MBH companies. My name is Vicky Sylvester. I'm the CEO of Acacia Training and I will be your host for this event. And since our last one, for those that join us regularly, we have had some new members join the group. So I'd like to extend a warm welcome to those who are 3Ks Engineering, who are based over in Wales. So they are led by Kevin Hambury and the team there. Nikki is here today to represent them. And a big welcome to Boulder Sausage from Boulder, Colorado, over in the US, which is led by Jim Burton and the team. And also a big welcome to Forex Taxis, and David Hunter is here to share his experience with those as they've joined the group. As usual, we have a short video which will give us a very quick summary of the companies in the group. And for those that join us before on previous events, we have shortened it a little bit because obviously you're now starting to get to know some of the more experienced companies in the group and spend a little bit of time focusing on those companies that are new to the group. This will then be followed by a live question and answer session, and we're going to have a specific focus on ESG, so environmental and social governance, and explain a little bit about how a diverse group such as MBH, with all the diverse and different companies in there, manages that strategy and application of that strategy across the group. If you do have any questions for our panel, please do feel free to drop them in the chat and we will answer as many questions as possible. Any we don't get to answer, we will follow up after the event and answer your questions there. In terms of the panel today, because we have now getting close to 25 principals representing the companies, we have 10 principals with us on the call. So you will be welcomed by Alan Preslin from Parenta Group, Paul Seabridge from Robinson's Caravans, Ben Tomlin joins us from UK Sports, David Hunter's here for the Take Me Group, Nikki Wensley from 3Ks, Jim Burton from Boulder Sausage, Ian Elsey from Geisha, Gary Lamb is here on behalf of Deboulay, and my colleague from over at Acacia Training is here, Joe Turner. So a huge welcome to our principals panel as well. So I'm going to welcome some of our new companies. So I'm going to welcome you to Jim and also to David and Nikki. They had all done videos. Sorry, guys, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit now. But I'll move to you first, Jim. Tell us a little bit about Boulder Sausage and also tell us a little bit about your experience now that you are in MBH.
Well, good morning. We're located in Boulder, Colorado. We manufacture and distribute pork sausage and bacon products. And we believe that our products are tastier, healthier, and fresher. Our roots go back to 1962. The current management team has been involved since 1989. We are the #1 local provider in the state of Colorado, and we distribute primarily through the grocery chains. Our customers are Kroger, Safeway, Costco, Super Target, and we focus on the retail sector, which was very beneficial to us during the COVID because we all had to learn to cook again. And so it was very beneficial to our business. Since joining MBH, everyone has been very welcoming and very helpful during our onboarding process. Since all the other principals are small business owners, it feels like we're joining a family, not a publicly listed company. And the experience has been very positive to date, and we're very excited about joining MBH.
Wonderful. And just to add to that, Jim, what was some of your reasons for joining the group, just out of curiosity for investors and people that are watching?
Probably the first one was we wanted to be able to collaborate with other small businesses and share best practices and also work together. Since we started this journey and networking with other companies just in Colorado, we've actually formed 3 partnerships by just collaborating with people who in the past were competitors, and today we're partnering. We actually introduced a new pre-cooked line last week in Colorado, and that was by partnering with another company who was previously a competitor but they had resources and expertise that we did not. And by joining forces, we were able to introduce that new product line. Number two, we wanted to be able to ensure the continuity of our business as we went forward. And so succession planning and continuity was very important. All of our employees are part of our family, and we value them very highly. And we wanted to make sure that if there was a change in leadership, the business would continue to operate. We also wanted to achieve the value in our business and make it liquid. And we were able to do that by joining NBH. And finally, we wanted to continue to grow our business. And we think NBH gives us the platform in order to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And yeah, I think a lot of companies that join the group can completely resonate with some of your reasons for joining. And I know I personally can. Nikki, I'm going to move to you next to tell us a little bit about 3Ks, where they've come from, and how you're finding being in the group so far.
So 3K has been around for over about 51 years now. Started off with Kevin, Carl and Karen's father, Ron Hanbury. So he started out as quite a small business. It's obviously grown now. So we've got about 5 workshops and about 65 employees. And although we've grown and we're doing quite well, during the time of the pandemic, we thought it'd be great to sort of combine, join MBH and make the most of those collaborations that Jim was on about, together being stronger. And MBH has been really good so far in helping us to do that.
Brilliant. And what type of engineering projects does 3Ks deliver on?
So what we do is we manufacture bespoke items for clients to their drawings. So we can machine items, weld items, fabricate items, but we do it all within one house. So most places will do one or the other. We do all of it in one place. So we do a whole range of things, from subsea structures to items for renewable energy companies, to brackets and small things to absolutely massive, large things as well.
Yeah, and I believe 3Ks is a family business, is that right?
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah, so from talking to Kevin, you're a second generation family business that's been around for a long time with a huge prevalence in the industry in Wales, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and that family values are sort of pass its way down through to the whole business. You can sort of see that by working here.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nikki. And David, tell us more about Forex taxis and also Take Me Group, the whole strategy behind what.
Yeah, afternoon to you, Vicky. So yeah, I'm originally came to MBH last August with ADT taxis. So we created a brand new vertical, which is the transport vertical. And with the UK taxi market being quite fragmented, we've seen an opportunity with the latest technology being cloud-based to build a network of taxi companies. So with obviously the model MBH offers us and the support of other like-minded businesses within the group, which has been fantastic, we've been able to acquire another taxi company. We've already acquired VGT, brought Gary in as part of the group and the vertical, and recently we brought in Forex Limited, which I've become a director and principal of. The owner is still with the business, but he's kind of old school, not used to the digital technology, and certainly not used to speaking in front of the camera. So he's pushed me forward to come and talk to you today. So Forex Limited was established 44 years ago. It's based in Huntington, Cambridgeshire, with shops and offices, bases as we might call them, in Huntington and St Neots. It runs a fleet of over 110 vehicles. They're all their own vehicles. They purchase them and maintain them. Quite distinctive, as you have seen from the video earlier, if you're watching the recorded version of this. Bright red vehicles, and they've got a garage and MOT facilities to service them. So that came on board last month. We've been quite busy over there. It was a very well-run company, family business, still is a family business. But the technology was based probably 20 years ago. So part of the appeal for them for joining MBH was to modernise the business. So we've modernised it. We've literally been all hands on deck for the last 3 to 4 weeks, putting in the cloud-based system, launching their new consumer app, updating their website, in the hope that we can increase automation. We've been quite successful in that. App downloads last weekend, as we came out of lockdown, we had 12,000 apps downloaded, which pushed their automation from 0 to around 40%. Our target is 70%, which decreases the need for call operators and so on. We've also brought in new systems to take away some of those calls. So automatically, when a customer calls, it will give them an ETA on their taxi. If they wish to cancel, they can press 2 instead of speaking to an operator, etc. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but they've got a very good business there. Delightful firm to be working with, and it is the #1 market leader. They do about £5,000 worth of school contracts a day. It's the only taxi in the area. They can more or less charge what they like. Their uplift on their account work is about 40% after they pay the drivers, so that's above industry standards. So yeah, brilliant firm. So what we're trying to do is build this vertical. Eventually, once we have enough people in the vertical, we'll rebrand as Take Me, so it becomes like a national app. It'll be networked, so whether you're in Huntington, Leicester, or down in Farnborough, you can book a taxi from our vertical.
Brilliant. And it's wonderful to hear how you're using the MBH sort of agglomeration concept to kind of build that vertical. And I'm assuming your plans for that's just going to continue. Yeah,
continue. Obviously, where MBH has been invaluable really is the training that I've had personally and some of the team, the assistance the accounts department gets. It's we've learned so much and continue to learn, and it's great sort of speaking to other small businesses. You don't feel like you're on your own anymore. So as Jim said, it very much feels like we're part of a family. So and I can't wait to get over to the States to try one of Jim's sausages.
I think we're all we're all waiting for that invite, Jim, when we're allowed out of the UK. That would be amazing. Maybe we can host one of our principals events there, and we'll get together, and Jim can provide the food, which would be marvellous. Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for dropping in without the video and stepping up. That's been absolutely brilliant. So now I'm going to talk a little bit. I wanted to share with people a little bit around ESG. And very briefly for investors, just to give a sort of a top line view with MBH's ESG strategy. It is aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goals and is driven by 3 core goals that all the businesses contribute just by the impact they have by being in the group. And those 3 goals are Global Goal 8, which is decent work and economic growth. Number 10, which is reduced inequalities. And number 14, which is our climate action commitments as a group. So we have activities that take place at MBH group level. For example, MBH ESG is part of our due diligence process. We have committee that drives the ESG and supports businesses with that. We have ambassadors, board level representatives, and we have objectives around group carbon emissions and things like our board apprentice scheme. And we are a UK government gateway as part of getting people into work. However, the vast majority of activities do take place within the group, and in the true spirit of the agglomeration model, companies have the autonomy to design their own strategies, and those strategies are linked to their customers, their communities, their staff, and the people that they work with, so that they can be working towards things that resonate for them, and the goals that they're trying to achieve as a business. So first of all, I'm going to start with Alan. Welcome, Alan, first of all.
Hi there.
I know that social value is something that's massively close to your heart. And what I was hoping you could share with investors was a little bit more around the parental trust, the impact the parental trust has, and the UN global goals that your organisation aligns itself to.
Yeah, gladly. So I'm going to do it in the reverse order, if that's okay, Vicky. So we're very much aligned with Global Goal 4, which is education, and specifically Global Goal 4.2, which is equal access to quality pre-primary education. That's really important to us. Parenta is in the pre-primary sector. We deliver services to the childcare industry in the UK. And in 2016, we expanded that concept by launching our own charity, very much looking at how we could take the concepts that we deliver in the UK and apply them globally. We didn't get as far as globally, but we did get to Africa. And over the last 5 years, we've built 5 pre-primary schools in Uganda. And we currently have, as I said, 5 schools, about 1,200 orphaned and disadvantaged children, all under 6 in our schools. And these are profoundly rural areas. They are probably a good 2.5 hours minimum from any tarmac roads. There's no electricity, there's no water, or no normal water. You know, there might be a village well or something, but no water in the way that we would understand it. So we've built, as I said, these 5 schools in these areas, and each school's got about 120 to 150 young children, as I said, under 6, and we're just trying to make a difference there. It's horrifying to see these kids who've got no parents and have no opportunity for any form of education. And so I think if we can make a difference there, then we should do. And it's very much a family affair. I know Dave and other people earlier today have talked about MBH being family, and I think that's really what Parenta is. So, you know, whilst we have the charity, everybody within Parenta helps to contribute to that charity, and people are raising money through all sorts of events that they run, whether it's running a marathon or doing something, a car boot sale or something. But everybody within the company helps to raise the money for the charity and to continue to build the schools. Our goal, we have 5. Our goal is not 5. Our goal is crazy. We would like to get to 100 schools, and I'm sure that won't happen. But the point is, if you reach for the stars, you might get to the moon, and that's really what we're trying to do. It's really about, can we make a profound impact against that global goal for this huge number of children who are in just such total abject poverty.
Well, we wouldn't be entrepreneurs, Alan, if we didn't set ourselves targets that are reaching above the stars. But what's really interesting is what you've said about impact, and I think that's really a good point, because we can have a strategy, but it means absolutely nothing if it isn't impacting people at the end. And I think it's really important. And it sounds like you're doing some incredible work out there, and I think it's good. I think you should reach for the stars, and I'm pretty sure you'll get to your 100. Knowing you well, you don't seem to not hit things that you set out to achieve. So fantastic.
Thanks. I'm sure it'll take longer than I hope, though.
Doesn't everything? So staying with education for a minute, Ben from UK Sports. As a provider of fitness programs, tell us a bit more about how UK Sports supports health and wellbeing, which is also a global goal. And I'm quite interested in investors learning about next steps for your students when they finish their programs as well.
Yeah, no problem. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good.
All good, yeah. So generally speaking, we sort of support health and wellbeing by supplying personal trainers into the local communities. This can be via employment in a gym or self-employed. Many of our PTs now deliver online. We've done sort of free online fitness classes twice a week where people can log in and work out from home. And we'll give hints and tips on our social media platforms. We've been pushing the free online mental health workshop quite a lot. So obviously fitness is as much about mental fitness as it is physical. And post studies, our learners can access guaranteed job interviews with some of the largest fitness chains in the UK and other smaller independent gyms, or they can come back to us for further education for things like sports massage therapy.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think your point about physical health and mental health is really important. So has that been quite a key driver for a lot of the activities that you've been doing, particularly, I suppose, during the last 12 months?
Yeah, it's been huge, I say, especially the last 12 months. So we was pushing it anyway, but then the last 12 months, we've seen a massive uptake in the offering. I mean, it's always been a bit of a USP with the business selling the mental health workshops alongside the PT. But certainly in the last 12 months, the interest has gone sky high. You know, there's been people struggling all over the world, but we're finding we can still give a little bit of community back, and doing all the fitness classes online with them is bringing people together when they've been isolated. A lot of them miss the gym, that's their social life. So we find we can bring it into their front room. It's still not as good as their previous, but it's, you know, it's halfway there. So we're finding it's giving them a massive boost. Yeah.
And one final question. How do you see the return to the gyms in the UK? Because obviously they've opened now, which is news. I know there's a lot of relieved people about the gyms. But, you know, how are you seeing it at the moment in terms of that reopening phase?
Yeah, it's been a big boost reopening. I think some larger chains have struggled, but some independents are doing well. I think people are realising you can still work out without a gym. So a lot of people now hitting the streets, they're running, they're working out from home. So I do think the industry will be okay. I think they've bounced back quite strong. They'll probably be smarter with their their memberships. There'll be less tying people into longer contracts, but that'll give more flexibility to the member base. So I think there'll be some positives to come out of it. And yeah, a lot of them certainly relieved to be open again, but say the actual member will have a lot more choice now, and will have less contracts to be tied into. So I think there will be some positives to come out of it.
Brilliant, thank you. So next, finally from the education team, I wanted to welcome my co-director from Acacia Training, Joe Turner. And specifically, Joe, as we know, both MBH and Acacia Training are gateways for the UK government's programme. But so tell us a little bit more about that programme, and also the other employability programmes that we're rolling out and the impact that has on people.
Yeah, sure. The Kickstart Scheme was announced last year by the UK government. It's a £2 billion fund that's out there to enhance job prospects for those 16 to 24 that are currently unemployed. So what it enables you to do as an employer is take on a young person for 6 months for 25 hours a week and have all the associated costs paid for. So it's been quite interesting. You know, we've certainly had significant interest in that so far. And that's for a number of reasons. There's a lot of young people that may be in various, job placements that have closed due to COVID. There's graduate schemes that maybe have not gone ahead. And it's been quite well received. And I suppose for an employer to have a young person to an organisation brings a slightly different dynamic to your workforce. And then there's a lot of progression routes for those after they've embarked on the 6-month placement. To date, we're working with about 150 organisations nationwide. We've got 558 open roles and vacancies across a multitude of different sectors. And we're currently working with just over 700 individuals to place them into those roles. So it's been really good, and it's starting to gain more traction. I know that Boris Johnson on Tuesday announced that 16,500 young people had started on the Kickstart scheme. And I think the plan is to go into the hundreds of thousands. So it's working really, really well. So from a Kickstart perspective, great. I think the two other schemes that we're working on internally, one is the Skills for Care, which is a rapid induction course for those who have left the care sector, who are looking to re-engage, or those who are looking to volunteer in that sector. And that's, again, grant funded. At the moment, we're working with 140 care settings. We've trained over 800 learners, and we've got about another 100 learners booked on. So, that's great, because the care sector has struggled, in recent months, and there's been a huge surge in demand for people entering that sector. And then the last one, which is new for us as Acacia, is the traineeship. So enable you to take on a young person for more than 70 hours of work experience, and kind of parallel that with some sort of basic education before they come and join you. So the Kickstart program is great, and that's for those who are kind of out of work at the moment, who probably have been in work, whereas a traineeship program is the first step for individuals who are unemployed or haven't worked previously. Bolt on a pre-employability course, build confidence, build employee relations, trial themselves with some work experience, and then look as an outcome of maybe a Kickstart, or maybe an apprenticeship. So they're kind of the three main things we're working on.
Yeah, and that's great because job creation's huge. And so in terms of progression routes, when these learners have finished these programs, what's the goal? What it can't just stop there. What's the next phase for those?
No, I think that the goal for us in the education vertical is lifelong learning. So they may use one of these initiatives to embark on employment to begin with, but that's a continuation of learning. So be that through a high level apprenticeship, be that through other funding that they could obtain for their role. But it's the outcome really is using education to get into employment, which is what everyone wants essentially, but then continuing your learning to improve your career prospects. So.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And I know somebody of our principals team that's been doing a lot around staff development within their own business. So I'm going to move over to the leisure vertical and welcome Paul from Robinsons. And Paul, I know your business aligns itself with Global Goal 8, which is about decent work and economic growth. But can you tell us a little bit more about how you're achieving that? And we know caravans became a lot more popular last year. So how are you developing your teams alongside that growth?
Yeah, hi Vicky, hi everyone. So I guess what we're seeing at Robinsons is there's a really big trend that I think staycations are a lot more popular. I think particularly in light of the pandemic, travel overseas is uncertain, and our customers are certainly telling us that they prefer the comfort of their own sort of space. So a motorhome or caravan is perfect for that. So we're certainly seeing increased demand. But there's a big link between trying to service that demand and I guess our workforce. So employee engagement to us is really important. I think, over the last year, we've been forced to close several times during the pandemic. Not all of our staff have been working during these shutdowns. So when we first got involved in Robinsons a few years ago, we use a survey tool that provides us a lot of data about how engaged our staff are, and we've used that to create an action plan which we've implemented to address any issues or concerns which have been communicated back from the workforce. And we've continued to repeat that survey, so pretty much every 3 months, and we've been able to see a gradual improvement, which our research shows is strongly linked to productivity. So initiatives have included like a quarterly meeting with all of the staff, so that we can sort of understand issues as they arise, and then we can try and address them, not just within the workforce, but also within sort of customer service. I think one of the things that's really important to us as well at Robinsons is sort of training and development for our people. So we've launched this first quarter a leadership development program for 2 of the senior leaders within Robinsons and also other companies across sort of MBH, which includes ongoing sort of one-to-one coaching. We've also used the Kickstart Scheme, so that sort of provides a stepping stone for young people and gives us extra resource for our business during these sort of difficult times, which I guess is a bit of a step up from the sort of apprenticeship scheme that we've already adopted in the business. And in fact, we've actually had one staff member who successfully completed his apprenticeship towards the back end of last year, and he's a really enthusiastic and committed member of the team. Ongoing training for our staff is also really important. We've recently delivered a training session to all of our sort of key departmental managers within the business so that they can get more out of our EHR platform. So I guess as a sort of summary, really, that, I think as the business bounces back and hopefully the economy continues to unlock, we anticipate strong demand for caravans and motorhomes. And at the same time, we're having to contend with the ongoing challenges around safe working and COVID-19. So we really do rely on our staff to rise to these challenges. And I guess that's what provides us with that competitive edge.
Yeah, and just briefly, how, we're now into the second phase. How has caravan trade continued? Is it flourishing? Is it still, growing compared to last year and the year before?
Yes, I mean, if you compare this first quarter with last quarter pre-COVID and then the quarter before, we're definitely seeing an increased demand. I mean, we really just can't sell them quick enough. I had a text message off the managing director at Robinsons last night, and he said literally in 2 hours he'd sold 7 caravans, which is just crazy. Wow. It's completely off the scale. Wow,
that's fantastic and really, really great to hear. So thank you for that. And it's so good to hear. I mean, we know young people have been disproportionately affected, and I've been really impressed actually by how the companies in MBH have really listened and adapted and tried to support young people back into work, as well as many other people, you know, creating jobs for many other people in industries like yours where it's growing. I think that's fantastic to see. So yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. And I'm going to move over to Gary. So Gary is here from De Boulder, joining us from De Boulder today. And Gary's one of my co-ESG ambassadors and does a lot of work with the committee. So what is really interesting is that despite MBH actually having 2 female engineers, both of which are on today's call with yourself and Nikki, the female representation in engineering and construction is really, really low, despite there being a skill shortage in that industry and, you know, those industries, and also a huge amount of talent. So, you know, tell us a little bit more about some of the initiatives you're doing to try and encourage more women into sectors such as construction and engineering.
Thanks, Vicky. Hi, everyone. I guess, should I begin with one of the things you mentioned, Vicky, earlier, was what goals we have targeted within our MBH strategy for ESG, one of them being reducing inequalities. And I guess that covers for us definitely is bringing gender equality to the forefront along with diversity and inclusion. And we all know how key this is for any organization. And just pivoting to the women in construction and in STEM, as it is called, which would be science, technology, engineering, would be, and mathematics would be, our UK goal is for women to account for at least 30% of the workforce. And right now, if you look at just the engineering profession, it's close to 10%. And that's the gap we are talking about. And 10% of the entire workforce is women. And we know that within the construction and engineering and any STEM field, there is a gap for talent coming forward. And it's just incredible when Joe was talking about the Kickstart Scheme and the traineeship, because the diversity and inclusion kind of relates to that as well. How do we broaden this pool of people and feed into this big pool of people? And why is it necessary for any organization? Well, it has been proven the financial returns of any of these companies are minimum 30% better by actioning and taking actionable, measurable steps towards equality. It's a broader talent pool, because you're bringing a lot of opportunities to the table for your company as well as the people you're involved with. The talent retention is a lot better. And I think lastly, and I think that's the most important point, is you're making decisions for the communities you represent, and it's a broader representation of communities within your companies, and you're making decisions for everyone involved rather than having this one way of thinking. And there is pros and cons for everything, but I guess having a broader representation is very key for any business who wants to make an impact, which Alan picked up on as well. How do you make a positive impact with your businesses, and what are you giving back? So yeah, and I know you've been doing a lot of work with the companies in the group, raising awareness and providing some tips, but talk about some of the things you've been doing to kind of support this goal. We introduced, we're working closely with WISE, which is Women in Science and Engineering, and they work in the construction group as well, and trying to introduce a 10-step plan where you can take measurable, actionable steps for bringing the diversity, inclusion, and gender equality to the forefront and a part of the strategy for every company within the organization. And we have embarked on that journey, and hopefully that takes more of a precedence going forward as well. I personally am one of the ambassadors. I go to schools, talk to children, because at the end it starts right at the beginning where people know what the options are. The girls know what the options are, and it's not just, that is not a closed loop for them, and they are a part of the decision making. So yeah, it's been quite a journey and very exciting one.
Yeah, and I'm going to invite Nikki as well, because Nikki's also an engineer, and I really think it's great to see female engineers in the group. But Nikki, tell us a little bit about 3K's engineering. What kind of ESG activities are you doing over at the engineering vertical?
So we're doing quite a few different things. The social side I'll leave to the side because we've got quite a lot on social responses from MBH. But if I take you on to the environmental management sort of stuff that we've been doing. So we've been implementing and maintaining an environmental management system around our core production processes. So our machining, our fabrication processes, because they have an environmental impact. So what we've been trying to do is to reduce our inputs and outputs from that. So we reduce the amount of materials that we use and we buy in what we need. We've been using energy companies that have goals to produce low carbon energy. We purchase chemicals that are less impacting on the environment. So rather than volatile organic compounds, trying to replace them with more friendly alternatives. Mm-hmm. When it goes through the process, then it comes out, we've got welding fumes. So we're trying to control the welding fumes with local exhaust ventilation. The material waste that we have, we try to recycle wherever possible. So we use them to create jigs and fixtures to sort of help us in the manufacturing process rather than send it to landfill. Then we can control our hazardous wastes by putting in place maintenance on our systems so we don't have unwanted hazardous waste through leaks or anything like that in our machinery. So we try to keep on top of sort of preventative maintenance and testing of metalworking fluids, trying to reduce the amount of times we have to change over the oil coolant mixes in our machines so that we're not sending any unwanted chemicals any sooner than they need to be dealt with in an environmentally friendly way. So we do our best to sort of control hazardous waste, prevent sort of spills, that sort of thing. We don't want anything going into the ecosystem where we can avoid it. And in the wider sort of side of things in our workshops, we try to reduce down sort of energy incumbent light systems. So we'll replace them with energy-friendly alternatives over time. And we're just trying to increase awareness of all this within our workshops. So we've given out little bits of training, but over time we're going to increase that training so people know the reasons as to why we're actually asking them to do these things in terms of purchasing more environmentally friendly chemicals, that sort of thing.
Brilliant. And I know, Ian was here, but Ian's having technical difficulties. But I know over in Geisha, for example, they have some very strong KPIs about recycling of the waste. So when they're going into a site and they're removing waste, and for those that have seen the offices, Ian was heavily involved in renovating the offices over at Acacia, and this was a discussion we had around how could we ensure the waste we're recycling as much as possible, and how can we make the energy lights and everything else in the building more energy efficient. But how important is this to your customers? What are you finding from customers in terms of them knowing the work you're doing about protecting the community and them, and these environmental measures?
Well, we often get questions through normal supplier questionnaires when they're putting us on their approved suppliers lists. Obviously, they want to know that we're doing the most that we can to improve the environment, or reduce that impact on the environment, I should say, wherever possible. So in a waiting system with other people that aren't doing the same sort of thing, then obviously we're going to stand out compared to those that aren't doing anything from an environmental management system perspective.
Yeah, and massively important for your communities and your staff, I guess. They want to know they're working with an organisation that has these values.
Yeah, I think it helps to know that we're trying to do our best within the environment. We don't want anybody to be impacted by the stuff that we're doing in the wider environment, because we've got a housing estate not too far away. We've got a shop, we've got a surgery, so we're aware of what impact our own business has on the wider environment.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nikki. And I just wanted to bring David in, because staying with environmental impact for a minute. I know David has been thinking about carbon emissions, and in the taxi industry, you know, it's surely going to be a huge challenge for the industry. But how is the taxi vertical addressing environmental impact?
It's very much on our minds, to be honest, Vicky. We deal with obviously a lot of corporate accounts, and it's part of the contracting process that we have to supply a certain amount of vehicles, hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles. And obviously, as we're traveling around the country now, a lot of cities are trying to get down to carbon neutral, and obviously charging for the old-fashioned diesel or petrol vehicles to go into the cities such as London, the congestion zones there. So just before we came online, I was checking our fleet. So across our network, which we've got nearly 1,000 cars now, around about 52% are hybrids. So that's a huge difference. So if I look 5 years ago, the majority would have been diesel. But moving forward, we have set a target, and we actually set it before Boris Johnson here in the UK announced that by 2030, the ban of sale of petrol and diesel cars. So by 2030, we want to have all our fleet moved across to either hybrid, EV, or hydrogen. So for me personally, hydrogen makes more sense. It's a lot more convenient for the driver to fill. The problem is, obviously, in cities, a lot of drivers live in apartments or rows of terraced houses. Very difficult to charge a vehicle if you're living in an apartment. So you'd be reliant on visiting a service station and so on. So the industry has really been waiting for the range of the vehicles to increase. Obviously, over the last few years in the UK, we've had products like the Nissan Leaf, which are great showcase vehicles. We've had the Teslas, but the range has not been enough. For example, if you're going from Leicester to Heathrow to drop off and then had to wait for a return passenger, it would mean, unfortunately, the passenger around about Luton on the way back would have to have a 40-50 minute break whilst we supercharge the vehicle. And a lot of them haven't been suitable for taking luggage and so on. However, this year, 2021, there's a lot of vehicles coming to the market. You'll see them going out from Mercedes, MG, Audi, Jaguar, etc. So the choice becomes infinitely better. The prices are coming down, so it's going to be a lot easier to hit our ambitions to become greener. So yeah. I mean, we've been part of a consultation for the last 2 years, because we've been working with the Renault-Nissan Alliance to produce a vehicle which is suitable for the taxi trade. And this vehicle has been designed for the trade, to take into account luggage. The infotainment system has been adapted to plug into our reservation system, so our dispatchers can see, well, we can't send that vehicle because it's only got so much charge left. We need to send the driver a warning, he needs to go and charge. So when it comes to dispatch, it's going to be looking around for vehicles that have adequate charge to get them from A to B. Moving away from EV, obviously we are a very diverse company. We're multicultural, not only with drivers, but in management and so on. We've also, as you heard earlier, we're striving to increase automation. Very much cloud-based now. I found a bit of paper here at my desk, but everything else is obviously, via the cloud. So yeah, it's all changed for the good. Yeah, multicultural, diverse, multi-gender. We're trying to tick all those boxes. Obviously, with the vehicles, we're just waiting for, it's very much price led. So as those prices come down, which they are doing, and we're seeing lots of grants available, lots of incentive coming from the UK government. So we're embracing that. So, even in June, July this year, we're taking delivery of a fleet of Teslas as well, getting ready for when we rebrand to Take Me. So they'll be our showcase vehicles. So in most cities that we're operating in.
Brilliant. And 52% hybrid is really, really impressive. I've just moved to a hybrid myself, and it's brilliant. Actually, it's brilliant, especially for the shorter trips. I think that's the challenge. It's just the shorter trips are easier.
Yeah, I mean, on the motorway, obviously it becomes just a petrol engine, but most of the journeys are short journeys around cities. So obviously it's cutting down those emissions. And from the driver's point of view, because most of them are self-employed, it cuts their fuel bills down too. They're a lot more economical. I mean, you can get, on BMW 3 Series, up to 82 miles per gallon. And I've just seen somebody, the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I've actually test driven one, absolutely superb car. Actually, I can't wait. It's not actually hit the market yet, and you're quite right. 18 minutes, 80%. I mean, that's a dream car for us in the industry. Renault have got something very similar. It'd probably be badged as a Nissan here in the UK, which again has got that charge time. The problem is finding those superchargers as well. But a lot of the service stations here in the UK, you're seeing it now. A lot of the car parking spaces being converted to charging bays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and thank you for that tip about what car next. I will certainly have a look at that one when my car comes around for renewal. But
it's a very good looking car, that as well. Yeah.
What are you seeing from your customers? Are they wanting this kind of change, looking to the future?
As I mentioned, corporate wise, yes. I'll be honest with you, Vicky. For those that are slightly drunk on a Friday night or Saturday night, they just want to get home. They'd get on a horse and carts if it got them home, or a milk float. Well, a milk float's great because they're battery operated. But there is. It is obviously it's hitting the media now. The climate change agenda. So people are becoming aware of it. So it's all good.
And how are your drivers adapting to the change from petrol or diesel to hybrid to electric? Is it just naturally transitioning, or is this?
Yeah, I think so. Unless you're a complete petrol head, then these vehicles that they're driving, they're their offices, they're the tools of the trade. So the more economical they are, the better. They're not trying to get the best 0 to 60 speeds. Although an electric car you can probably do it in 3 seconds. They're not petrol heads. They're the working tool, and you drive a hybrid yourself, you don't really notice the difference, to be honest with you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, and thank you for sharing all of that. I'm actually going to move again to Jim, if Jim doesn't mind, from over in Colorado. Just to tell us a bit from your perspective, Jim, around the people in your business and environmentally or socially, what kind of activities and things you're doing, what they expect from you as a business.
So we're very concerned about our impact on the environment as a manufacturer, and because we deal with a retail packaging is a major concern, and how much waste is there in that. And one of the things we're doing right now is we're changing our packaging system. In the past, we've used a styrofoam tray. We also have to be concerned about public health and protecting the product and making sure that there's no contamination. But we're introducing a new thermoform packaging system right now. And what we will be doing is we'll be going to something which will be 100% recyclable. And so instead of packaging using a styrofoam tray that is not recyclable, we'll be moving to something that is 100% recyclable. So in our business, we're constantly looking at what are those opportunities and how can we implement those.
Yeah, and does that have a savings for the business, or is it improving customer expectations and relationships? What's your rationale behind wanting to do that?
Well, our commitment to the environment and how we impact that, but also our customers are demanding it. Costco, Kroger, all of them are demanding that we look at ways to go to 100% recyclable. Looking for what is our impact, and then of course the end customer, they're also demanding that too. Especially where I live in Boulder, Colorado, recycling is a major priority for everyone. And so once again, our customers, both the distribution chains and our end customers, are both wanting to look at ways that we can provide recycling options for them.
Yeah, brilliant. It's I think it is becoming more and more important, and I think it's becoming more important to investors as well. I think investors are making decisions around how environmentally and socially impactful businesses are. And I think it's such a good thing. And I don't know if others agree. I think last year kind of accelerated a lot as well on the social side, or people using more tech and more digital. So I think it advanced quite a lot in the past 12 months as well. So I think it's great to see. So I have got a question around the ESG committee that's been asked. And the question is, how does the ESG committee work in practice? So how the ESG committee works is there are representatives from all different organisations within the business, and they are people within the businesses that can have an impact on the business itself and some of the decisions that are made in that business. And we meet regularly. We share good practice. We share what's happening across other industries, and then we try and drive ideas for the companies and for the board to support. And additionally to that, we support one another with, I suppose, raising awareness about the different kind of things that we could be doing as businesses. Social awareness and education can communicate with construction and engineering, and vice versa. And those really act as ambassadors across the group. So as new companies come into the group, as I said before, ESG is part of the due diligence process, and we use that information to identify ways in which we can support the group. The next phase was we have a 5-stage action plan as MBH, and we have that action plan can be applied at company level, so they can start to build their own around those five steps. But ultimately it comes to impact. And what we'd really like to do, and what we will be doing over the course of this year, is by next year being able to provide a report for investors specifically looking at our environmental, social governance elements and the impact as a group. And we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. I think Nikki and Jim both alluded to this collaboration and the strength in numbers, and the impact is far better and greater actually as a collaborative unit than perhaps we would have been independently on our own. So I've got one question that I would like to just sneak in if possible. It's not particularly linked to ESG, and I will bring Paul in because I know he's done quite a lot of acquisitions into the group and understands quite a lot of this. But the question is, there is an increasing amount of different industries in the group. So what is MBH's strategy with regards to this? So I think this is referring to, I suppose, the diverse nature of the verticals. We have got quite a variety of verticals now. And I know, Paul, you've been bringing companies in. So what criteria are you looking for when companies come into the MBH group?
Yeah, I mean, I think this sort of reflects the whole MBH model, really, in that what we're trying to do is, I guess, solve the challenge that SMEs have in terms of having access to the capital, sharing ideas with other like-minded individuals. So, every business that joins MBH is a standalone. So they bring their own personality, their own ideas, and we, I guess, encourage businesses across MBH, across different sectors, to sort of work collaboratively together. So, for example, in the COVID-19 pandemic, we've regularly had meetings and we've shared challenges that's presented our businesses. And I guess it's been great to, share those challenges together, because I think it's quite lonely being an entrepreneur on your own, running your own business. So I think that the sort of the strategy is actually really to create that diversity. We're not just one company that does one thing. We're operating in several different countries across several different sectors, and I guess that's a great thing from a sort of investor point of view, because if you like, all your eggs aren't just in one basket. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and I think last year particularly demonstrated that. I think we've all got through last year. Some of us have grown through last year, but I think the diversity of the group is what kind of reduces the risk, I suppose, for investors when they're looking at MBH. And I think you're right, the geographies as well. We've had we're at different points in the year in different countries. So it does have an impact on the kind of activities that go across the group. And I suppose one of the key things is that the business owners want to stay with the business and they want to grow in the group and, build from there. So thank you for that, Paul. That's brilliant. And thank you for answering that one for me. Well, that's it. Our hour is up. And I want to thank everybody for watching, and we want to thank all the principals for joining. Our next event is on the 22nd of July, so please do look out for that. And we will, if you want to view anything, please look at the YouTube channel and also our website, which is www.mbhcorporation.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a fabulous rest of the week, and we look forward to seeing you soon. So take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Find out more today at mbhcorporation.com.